AITA for ruining my friend's wedding by revealing her fiancé's double life. Okay, Reddit, I really need some perspective here because my world has been turned upside down, and I honestly don't know if I'm the villain or if I just did something incredibly painful but necessary. The guilt is eating me alive, but there's also this small, stubborn part of me that thinks I had no other choice. My best friend, let's call her Olivia, and I have been inseparable since we were 5 years old. We met in reception class at primary school in Bristol, bonded over a shared love for a particularly sparkly brand of glitter glue, and the rest is history. We've been through everything together: terrible teenage fashion choices, first heartbreaks, family drama, university struggles, career anxieties, you name it, we've weathered it side by side. She's more like a sister to me than a friend. That's why this whole situation is so devastating. Olivia met Liam about 3 years ago. He was charming, successful, a software developer for a big tech firm in London, and he seemed to absolutely adore her. He was attentive, remembered all the little things, and made these grand romantic gestures that Olivia had always dreamed about. He'd send flowers to her office at the accountancy firm where she worked, whisk her away for surprise weekend trips to places like Bath or the Cotswolds, and he always spoke about their future together with such conviction. I'll admit at first I was a little wary. He seemed almost too perfect, you know, like something out of a rom-com, but Olivia was so blissfully happy, the happiest I'd ever seen her, that I pushed my skepticism aside. I wanted this for her. She deserved all the happiness in the world after a string of truly awful boyfriends. Liam proposed to Olivia last year during a trip to Paris, right in front of the Eiffel Tower at sunset. It was ridiculously romantic, and Olivia was over the moon. The wedding planning started almost immediately. It was going to be a big, traditional affair at a beautiful country manor near our hometown, the kind of wedding Olivia had been meticulously planning in a scrapbook since she was 12. I was of course asked to be the maid of honor. I was thrilled and threw myself into the role with gusto, planning the hen-do, a surprisingly classy weekend in Brighton, despite some initial calls for something far more raucous, helping with dress fittings, addressing invitations until my hands cramped, and generally being her emotional support system through the stress of table plans and floral arrangements. The wedding was scheduled for last Saturday. Everything was perfect. The venue looked like something out of a fairy tale, the flowers were stunning, Olivia looked breathtaking in her dress, and even the notoriously fickle British weather decided to cooperate with a glorious sunny day. Now, here's where things get complicated, and where I might be the asshole. About 2 months before the wedding, I started noticing some odd things about Liam. It was nothing major at first, just little inconsistencies. He'd mentioned being swamped with a big project at work, needing to pull all-nighters, but then a mutual acquaintance who worked at the same company, different department, but still, would mention seeing him leave at 5 p.m. sharp or talk about a company-wide slowdown. He was also increasingly cagey about his phone. Olivia once jokingly reached for it to look up a restaurant, and he practically leaped across the sofa to snatch it back, getting really defensive and weird about it. He apologized later, saying he had sensitive work emails on it, but it struck me as an overreaction. Then there were the business trips. They became more frequent in the lead-up to the wedding. He'd be gone for 3 or 4 days at a time, supposedly meeting with clients in Manchester or Edinburgh. Olivia, bless her trusting heart, never questioned it. She'd just miss him terribly and count down the days until he was back. I tried to gently voice my concerns once, saying something like, "Wow, Liam's company is really working him hard before the wedding, huh?" But Olivia just smiled and said, "He's ambitious, you know. He wants to provide for us." I didn't want to upset her or seem like I was doubting her fairy tale, so I let it drop. The real bombshell landed about 3 weeks before the wedding. I was in London for a work conference. During a lunch break, I decided to grab a coffee at a pret-a-manger near the conference venue. As I was waiting in line, I saw him, Liam. He was sitting at a table by the window, deep in conversation with a woman. And it wasn't just any conversation. They were holding hands across the table. He leaned in and kissed her, not a peck on the cheek, but a proper lingering kiss. And then I saw it, she was heavily pregnant. My blood ran cold. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I ducked behind a display of pastries, my heart hammering in my chest, and just watched, horrified. They looked comfortable, intimate. He rubbed her pregnant belly, and she smiled up at him with such affection. This wasn't a casual acquaintance. This wasn't a work colleague. This looked like a life. Another life. I didn't know what to do. I felt physically sick. I paid for my coffee, somehow, and practically ran out of the Pret. My mind was racing. Was this a misunderstanding? Could there be some innocent explanation? But the kiss, the hand-holding, the way he looked at her pregnant stomach, no. My gut was screaming that this was exactly what it looked like. I spent the rest of the day in a daze, barely able to concentrate on the conference. That evening, I did something I'm not proud of, but I felt I had to. I looked up the woman. I only had a vague impression of her, but Liam had once mentioned a Sarah from marketing at his company, and the woman I saw kind of fit the general description he'd given. I did some social media sleuthing, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. It took a few hours, but I found her. Sarah Reynolds. Her profile picture showed her, beaming with Liam's arm around her. And her feed was full of pictures of them together, going back at least 2 years. Pictures from holidays, cozy nights in, even a picture from what looked like their engagement party. And yes, posts about her pregnancy, excitedly talking about their baby boy, due in about a month. She even had a cutesy nickname for Liam in some of the captions. He was living a complete double life. He had a whole other fiancé, a baby on the way, in London while he was engaged to my best friend in Bristol and planning a lavish wedding. I felt like I was going to throw up. How could anyone be so cruel, so deceitful? Olivia was head over heels in love with this man, planning her entire future around him. And he was a monster. The next few weeks were torture. I debated endlessly with myself. Should I tell Olivia? When? How? If I told her before the wedding, she'd be devastated, humiliated. The wedding would have to be cancelled, deposits lost, guests informed. It would be a nightmare. But if I didn't tell her, and she married him, she'd be walking into a marriage built on an enormous, life-shattering lie. What if she found out later? It would be even worse. She'd never forgive me for knowing and not saying anything. I confided in my older brother, also coincidentally named Liam. This might get confusing, so let's call my brother Leo for the story's clarity. Leo has always been the sensible one in our family. He was as shocked as I was. He advised me to gather concrete proof, something undeniable, because accusations this big could backfire spectacularly if Olivia's fiancé Liam tried to deny it or gaslight Olivia. So, with a heavy heart, I did. I took screenshots of Sarah's social media posts, the ones with Liam, the pregnancy announcements, everything. I even, and this makes me feel incredibly creepy, managed to get a photo of Liam and Sarah together from a distance on another day when I knew he was supposedly on a business trip but I happened to be in London again. I made sure his face was clearly visible, and so was her very prominent baby bump. I decided, rightly or wrongly, that telling her right before the wedding would be the least worst option. Yes, it would be public, in a way, and horrific, but it would prevent her from legally tying herself to this con man. I thought about telling her privately days before, but I was terrified Liam would somehow manipulate her, convince her I was lying, or making it up, or jealous. He was so good at twisting things. I felt that showing her the proof, in a situation where he couldn't immediately isolate her and spin his web, was the only way. So fast forward to the wedding day. Saturday. I was a wreck. I barely slept the night before. Going through the motions of getting ready with Olivia and the other bridesmaids felt like an out-of-body experience. Olivia was radiant, so excited, so full of love and hope. Every time she smiled, it was like a knife in my gut. How could I be about to destroy her world? The ceremony was beautiful. They exchanged vows, heartfelt and emotional. His, I now knew, were complete and utter bull. I stood there, holding her bouquet, my own hands shaking, the evidence, printed photos in an envelope, and copies on a USB stick in my clutch, feeling like a lead weight. The reception started. Speeches were made. The father of the bride's speech was lovely. The best man, Liam's friend, made a funny, charming speech. Then it was my turn, as maid of honor. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would explode. I stood up, walked to the microphone. The room was full of expectant faces, Olivia beaming at me. I looked at Liam, sitting beside her, looking so smug and pleased with himself. And I couldn't let her marry him under these pretenses. I couldn't let her waste another second of her life on this lie. I started my speech normally enough, talking about our friendship, how much Olivia meant to me. Then, I took a deep breath and said, Olivia, I love you more than words can say. And because I love you, I have to do something incredibly difficult right now. There's something you need to know about Liam. The room went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Olivia's smile faltered, a confused frown appearing on her face. Liam looked up, suddenly alert, a flicker of something panic in his eyes. I laid it all out. I told everyone that Liam had another fiancée in London, Sarah. I told them she was pregnant with his child, due next month. I didn't shout, I didn't get hysterical. I spoke calmly, clearly, though my voice trembled. I then pulled out the envelope of photos and the USB stick and said, I have proof. Chaos erupted. Olivia just stared at me, her face completely white, then slowly turned to Liam. Liam jumped up, shouting, she's lying. She's always been jealous of us. This is insane. People started murmuring, then shouting. Olivia's dad stood up, looking furious. I walked over to Olivia and handed her the envelope. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely open it. She looked at the first photo, one of Liam and Sarah, smiling, Sarah heavily pregnant. A sound came out of Olivia's throat, a horrible, strangled sob. She dropped the photos, covered her face with her hands, and just broke down. Liam was still yelling, denying everything, calling me a crazy liar. But then Sarah's name was mentioned more clearly, and one of Liam's colleagues from London, who was a guest, went pale and muttered something to the person next to them. Apparently Sarah was well known in his London office. Olivia's brothers, both built like rugby players, physically restrained Liam when he started lunging towards me, screaming obscenities. The wedding planner, to her credit, quickly and discreetly started trying to manage the situation, asking guests to remain calm, but it was like a bomb had gone off. Olivia, completely inconsolable, was led away by her mum and sister. I just stood there, numb, watching the dream wedding implode. Some guests were staring at me with horror, others with a strange kind of pity, a few with outright anger. Liam's parents looked like they wanted the ground to swallow them whole. The wedding, needless to say, was over. Guests started leaving in droves. The beautiful cake went uncut. The dance floor remained empty. I haven't spoken to Olivia since. She's not taking my calls, not replying to my texts. Her family is furious with me for the way I did it. They understand why I might have felt the need to tell her, but they think doing it at the wedding, during the maid of honor speech, was cruel and humiliating for everyone, especially Olivia. They think I should have told her privately beforehand, no matter my fears about Liam's manipulation. Liam, from what I hear, has been completely ostracized. His lies are out in the open. Sarah in London apparently found out about Olivia and the wedding almost immediately. Someone from the wedding who knew someone who knew Sarah. I guess the grapevine works fast. Her world has also been shattered. She's reportedly kicked him out. So he's lost both women, and his reputation is in tatters. Good. He deserves it. But what about me? I sit here, replaying that moment over and over in my head. The look on Olivia's face. The sound of her crying. Did I do the right thing? Or did I just make an already horrific situation a million times worse by choosing such a public and dramatic stage for the reveal? I truly believed I was protecting her. I thought if I didn't do it then, she'd marry him. But the fallout is immense. I've lost my best friend, at least for now. Her family hates me. And even though I know Liam is a despicable human being, I can't shake this awful feeling that I'm the bad guy here for how it all went down. So Reddit, AITA for ruining my friend's wedding by revealing her fiancé's double life during my maid of honor speech. Update 2. Okay, first off, thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. I read every single comment, even the ones that were hard to hear. The sheer volume of responses was overwhelming, and I appreciate people taking the time to share their perspectives. It's given me a lot to think about. The opinions were definitely mixed, ranging from, "You're a hero," NTA, to, "YTA, you handled that terribly." Most people seem to land somewhere in the middle, understanding my motives but questioning my methods. A lot has happened in the last 2 weeks, and it's been intense. The immediate aftermath of the wedding that wasn't was pure silence from Olivia's side. As I mentioned, my calls and texts went unanswered. I sent a long, heartfelt email explaining my reasoning, apologizing for the pain and humiliation my actions caused, but reiterating why I felt I had no other choice than to ensure she knew the truth before legally binding herself to Liam. No reply. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, were the first to break the silence, though not with me directly. They spoke to my parents. From what my mum told me, they were still incredibly angry about the public nature of the reveal. Mrs. Thompson apparently said that I had stolen Olivia's dignity and turned their family's pain into a public spectacle. They felt I should have come to them, her parents, with the information beforehand, and they would have handled it privately with Olivia. I can see their point, I really can. In hindsight, that might have been a less explosive route. But in the moment, with my fear of Liam's manipulative abilities and the ticking clock of the wedding, I just panicked and went with what seemed like the only surefire way to stop it. Liam. Well, karma seems to be working overtime on him. As I mentioned, Sarah, the other fiancée in London, found out almost immediately. From what I've pieced together from mutual acquaintances and a bit of, I'm not proud. Continued social media observation. Sarah made her profiles private, but some of her friends didn't. She was, understandably, devastated and furious. She's due to give birth any day now. She's kicked Liam out of their flat, and her family is rallying around her. There are whispers that Liam's company is reviewing his position, due to the scandal, especially since it involves a colleague, Sarah, and has become quite widely known. Apparently, using company resources and time for his business trips to see Olivia while claiming to be working is also part of their concern. Good riddance if he loses his job. He deserves to lose everything. The hardest part, of course, has been the silence from Olivia. Every day without hearing from her has been agonizing. I've replayed our entire friendship in my head, wondering if this is it, if I've irreparably broken the most important friendship in my life. I've been struggling to sleep, to eat, to focus on work. My colleagues at the marketing agency I work for in Bristol have been incredibly supportive, covering for me when I've been a mess, but there's a limit to how much you can burden others. Then last Tuesday, something changed. I got a text message. Just one word, coffee. It was from Olivia. My heart leaped into my throat. I replied immediately, yes. When? Where? She suggested a small, quiet cafe in Clifton, one we used to go to when we wanted to have serious talks. We agreed to meet the next afternoon. I was a nervous wreck going to meet her. I had no idea what to expect. Would she scream at me? Cry? Tell me she never wanted to see me again? I wouldn't have blamed her for any of it. When I walked into the cafe, she was already there, sitting at a table in the corner, stirring a latte. She looked tired, drained. There were dark circles under her eyes, and she'd lost weight. But when she looked up and saw me, there wasn't anger in her eyes, just a profound sadness. I sat down, and for a few minutes, we just looked at each other. The silence was heavy. Finally I said, "Olivia, I am so sorry. For the pain, for the humiliation, for everything." She nodded slowly. "I know, Laura," she said, her voice quiet. "Yes, my name is Laura. Or at least, I think I know you think you were doing the right thing." And then she talked. For almost 2 hours, she talked, and I just listened. She told me about the absolute horror of that moment at the reception. The crushing weight of the betrayal. The humiliation of having her deepest heartbreak play out in front of everyone she knew. She told me how she'd spent days just crying, unable to process how the man she loved, the man she was about to marry, could be capable of such a monstrous deception. She said that for the first few days, she hated me. She hated me for being the one to deliver the news, for doing it so publicly. She wished she could have found out differently, privately. She felt like I'd made her a victim twice over, first Liam's victim, then a victim of my public revelation. But then, she said, as the initial shock wore off, and as more details about Liam's deception came to light, her dad had apparently done some digging of his own and confirmed everything I'd said, and then some. Liam apparently had a history of shady behavior. A different feeling started to emerge, gratitude. She told me, and this is what made me break down in tears right there in the cafe, "Laura, if you hadn't done what you did, as awful as it was, I would have married him. I would be Mrs. Liam Ashton right now. I would be legally tied to that monster. You saved me from that. You saved me from a life of lies." She said that while she still wishes it had happened differently, she understands now why I did it the way I did. She knows how charming and manipulative Liam can be. She admitted that if I'd told her privately, he probably would have tried to convince her I was jealous or mistaken. The public nature of it, the undeniable proof, left him with nowhere to hide. We talked about Liam, about Sarah, about the baby. Olivia expressed a surprising amount of empathy for Sarah, saying that she's another victim in all of this. She's even considering, down the line, reaching out to Sarah, though she's not sure what she'd say. She also told me about the practical nightmare of canceling a wedding. Dealing with vendors, trying to recoup deposits, some sympathetic, others strictly business, informing distant relatives who hadn't been there. It's been an ongoing ordeal. She's staying with her parents for now, needing their support. We didn't magically fix everything in that one coffee meeting. There's still a lot of hurt, and our friendship has undoubtedly changed. There's a shadow over it now that wasn't there before. But we're talking. She's not shutting me out anymore. She said she needs time, and she needs her best friend, but that we need to find a new normal. Her family is still very wary of me. Her mum apparently softened a little when Olivia told her she was meeting me, but her dad is still firmly in the "Laura handled it terribly" camp. I guess I'll have to earn back their trust, if I ever can. So, where do I stand now? I still feel guilty about the method. I truly do. If I could go back, would I do it differently? Maybe I'd like to think I'd be brave enough to confront her privately, with her parents present, armed with the evidence. But I also know the panic I felt at the time was real. I'm NTA for wanting to protect my friend. I might be TA for how I protected her. But Olivia is talking to me. She understands on some level. And that right now, feels like a monumental step forward. The weight on my chest has lessened, though it's not entirely gone. I saved her from a disastrous marriage, but I did scar her in the process. It's a complicated reality to live with. I'm cautiously optimistic. We're taking it one day at a time. She's agreed to see a therapist, which I think is a fantastic idea. I'm considering a few sessions myself to process everything. Thank you again, Reddit, for listening. It helped more than you know. I'll post another update if there are any significant developments. Update 3. Hello again Reddit. It's been a while, and a lot has changed since my last update. I promised I'd share significant developments, and I think we're finally at a point where I can say things have settled into a new kind of normal, one that's surprisingly positive, all things considered. The journey since that disastrous wedding day has been long and incredibly challenging, not just for Olivia, but for me too, and for everyone connected to us. But I'm sitting here writing this with a sense of peace I haven't felt in a very long time. Let's start with Olivia. She's been an absolute warrior. The months immediately following the wedding were dark for her. She went through all the stages of grief, denial, though brief, given the evidence, anger, bargaining, mostly with herself, wondering if she missed signs, deep depression, and finally, acceptance. Her therapist has been instrumental in helping her navigate this. Olivia has been incredibly committed to her healing, facing the pain head-on rather than trying to bury it. She moved out of her parents' house about 3 months ago and into a lovely little flat in a different part of Bristol. She said she needed a fresh start, a space that wasn't tainted by memories of Liam or the wedding plans. She's redecorated it herself, and it's very her, bright, airy, and full of plants. She's also thrown herself back into her work at the accountancy firm, and her colleagues have been wonderfully supportive. They even threw her a fresh start party when she got her new place, which was really sweet. Our friendship, well, it's different, but it's strong. Maybe even stronger in some ways. We had many more long talks after that initial coffee. There were tears, uncomfortable silences, and moments where we had to agree to disagree about the specifics of how the reveal happened. But underlying it all was the bedrock of our decades-long bond. She has forgiven me for the public nature of the reveal. She often says now, "Laura, you did what you thought was best with the information and the pressure you were under. It was horrific, but Liam was the one who created the horror. You just pulled back the curtain." Hearing her say that means the world to me. We don't shy away from talking about what happened, but it no longer dominates our conversations. We're back to talking about silly things, work frustrations, new Netflix shows we're binging, and even, tentatively, the future. One of the most surprising developments has been Olivia's connection with Sarah, Liam's other fiancée. About 4 months ago, after a lot of thought and a few sessions with her therapist discussing it, Olivia decided to reach out to Sarah. She wrote her a long, carefully worded letter, expressing her sorrow for what Sarah had also been through, acknowledging that they were both victims of Liam's deceit and offering no judgment, only empathy. She didn't expect a reply. But Sarah did reply. She called Olivia. They talked for over an hour that first time. It turns out Sarah's baby, a little boy named Leo, a different Leo to my brother, of course, was born about 2 weeks after the ill-fated wedding. Sarah had been completely blindsided by the news of Olivia and the wedding. She'd had suspicions that Liam was being distant and secretive, but she'd attributed it to stress about the baby's arrival and his demanding job. The truth was a gut punch for her too. Olivia and Sarah have since met up a few times. It's not like they're best friends, but they've formed a unique, supportive bond forged in shared trauma. They are the only 2 people on earth who truly understand what the other went through with Liam. Sarah is a single mom now, and Olivia has been surprisingly practical in her support, offering to babysit baby Leo occasionally. He's adorable, by the way, I've met him once with Olivia. And helping Sarah navigate some of the legal complexities of dealing with Liam regarding child support, which he's apparently been very difficult about. It's an unexpected silver lining, this strange solidarity. Olivia says it's been healing for her to connect with Sarah, to see the other side of Liam's deception and to know she's not alone. Now, about Liam. His life, from all accounts, has continued its downward spiral. He did, in fact, lose his job. The scandal, combined with evidence of him misusing company time and resources, was enough for his tech firm to let him go with a less than glowing reference. He apparently moved back in with his parents for a while. He struggled to find comparable work, as word of his duplicity seems to have spread within his professional network. He is paying some child support for baby Leo, but Sarah has had to fight him for it every step of the way. He's made no attempt to contact Olivia, which she is immensely grateful for. He's essentially become a non-entity in her life, a ghost from a past she's actively moving on from. His parents sent a formal, written apology to Olivia's parents for their son's actions a few months back, which was a small but appreciated gesture. Olivia's family, this has been a slower burn. Her mum came around relatively quickly once she saw that Olivia and I were rebuilding our friendship and that Olivia genuinely believed I had saved her. We've had a few awkward but polite conversations, and I think we're on the path to mending fences. Olivia's dad, however, has been tougher. He's a very proud, traditional man, and the public humiliation of his daughter and his family at the wedding cut him deeply. He still maintains I should have gone to him first. However, about a month ago, at a small family barbecue Olivia invited me to, he pulled me aside. He didn't apologize, and I didn't expect him to. But he looked me in the eye and said, "Laura, I still don't agree with how you did it. But I've seen how much Olivia has healed, and I know Liam would have destroyed her. You prevented that. So thank you for looking out for my daughter, even if your methods were unconventional." It wasn't exactly a warm embrace, but it was an acknowledgement, and it meant a lot. I think that's as good as it's going to get with him, and I can live with that. As for me, I've done a lot of reflecting. I did go to a few therapy sessions, and it helped me process the guilt and the trauma of it all. I still occasionally cringe when I think about standing at that microphone, but the intense, gut-wrenching guilt has faded. I know now that I was faced with an impossible situation and I made the best decision I could under immense pressure and with limited time. My primary goal was to protect Olivia from a marriage built on lies, and in that, I succeeded. The collateral damage was significant, but not, as it turns out, irreparable. Life is slowly returning to normal, or rather a new normal. Olivia and I went on a weekend trip to Bath last month, just the two of us. We went to the spa, did some shopping, ate good food, and laughed a lot. It felt like old times, but with an added layer of appreciation for our friendship and for the simple joy of being together, drama-free. Olivia has even tentatively started dating again very casually, nothing serious, but it's a sign that she's healing and opening herself up to the possibility of happiness again, which is wonderful to see. She's much warier now, of course, more cautious, but not cynical, which is a testament to her strength. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I hadn't seen Liam in that pret-a-manger. If I hadn't investigated. If I had just kept my mouth shut. Olivia would have married him. She would have discovered the truth eventually, perhaps when Sarah's baby was born, or when the lies became too big to sustain. And the devastation then, tied legally and emotionally to him, would have been catastrophic. So yes, the reveal was brutal. But the alternative was so much worse. So to answer my own question from all those months ago, AITA? I think the consensus, and my own conclusion, is that I was NTA for the what, revealing the truth, but potentially TA for the how, the public wedding speech. But given the stakes, and the specific nature of Liam's manipulative personality, the how might have been the only way to achieve the what effectively and immediately. It's a gray area, and I've made my peace with that. What matters most is that Olivia is free, she's healing, and our friendship, while tested to its absolute limits, has survived. It's scarred, sure, but it's real and it's enduring. And that's more than I could have hoped for in the dark days immediately after the wedding that wasn't. We're looking forward now, not back. And the future for both of us looks a lot brighter. What do you think? Tell us in the comments. Like the video and hit the subscribe button for more Reddit stories.